Good morning. Welcome back to the Daily Grind. I'm your host, Chump Change. This is live and recorded, and happy Wednesday. I know I missed a couple days. I apologize. For anybody that's new here, what we typically do is go over crypto news or whatever's going on in the space. I update myself, bring you guys along for the ride. Let's see who is in the chat, and then we will get into this. Mr. Green Hash, good to see you, buddy. Tim I Am Crypto, Chris Hanley, Son of a Rabbit. We have Crypto Escort, good to see you, buddy. Nick K, Alexander, Mr. Chris Hanley. Missed you guys too. I apologize. Let's see. Happy Monday, not Wednesday. You know what? I had to double check, see what day it was because you said that in the chat. Just saying. Wheeling Crypto, what's up, buddy? Good to see you. Game with Smokey Dan, Rob Mines. Again, Mr. Green Hash, appreciate you, buddy. All right, let's get into this and see what we're looking like today. We have Bitcoin over here, 51,436 bucks. We have Ethereum. It actually broke 3,000 yesterday, which is pretty awesome. It's at 29.28. So little pullback. As you can see, Solana's having a little pullback too. $103. We have ADA at 59 cents, XRP at 54 cents. LTC has really been not doing much lately. It's at $68. Could be worse though, right? Could be worse. Can always be worse. Dogecoin 8 cents. ETC at 26 bucks. Kaspa has been killing it. So has Alephium, but this is a top 100 coin, so it's not going to be in here. But Kaspa is still holding 17.4, which is pretty awesome. 17 cents, almost 17 and a half, basically. All right, let's check out crypto bubbles. What is this? What is this? This is on the day. Biggest loser of the day looks to be Starknet. 32.6%. What is this? 62. Does anybody know what this is? Anybody into this? I don't know what this coin is, to be honest. Not something I'm into. Looks like Fetch AI is up 8.2%. We have Sia coin. Again, when everything dumps, seems like Sia coin does all right. 10.2% up. Kind of interesting on that one. You know what? That could be a good game move if you're kind of getting out of other things, getting into Sia coin and then swapping back and forth. I feel like the last 3 or 4 pullbacks we've been seeing Sia coin doing like a 10% move when everything else pulls back. Kind of interesting, actually. AR, let's see, Arweave looks like it's down 12.1% at $14.17. Nothing else is really sticking out at me. Beam, I guess, 9.9% down at 3 cents, ranked 51. Yeah, that's gonna do it over here, guys. That's gonna do it. Nothing really popping out at me. All right, flashbang time. Here we go. Fear and Greed Index 78. Extreme Greed. As you guys know, I usually pay attention to this when it's over 75. So right now is the time where you know, either, I don't know, there's a little uncertainty in the market, right? We can see obviously we're having pullbacks. There's been a lot of greed lately, so people are taking profits, I assume. This chart is overall, you know, the entire crypto space as a whole, YouTube, markets, everything. So yeah, I don't know, take it as you will. Just be cautious. Could have a pullback, right? A little harder than we are now, but is what it is. Everything's looking pretty good. It looks like that Starknet one's actually trending up here, down 33.5%. Neat. All right, top 10 coins by coin market cap over on CoinGecko. We have Bitcoin, Ethereum, Tether, BNB, Solana, XRP, Lido Staked Ether, USDC, Cardano, and Avalanche. Looks like Dogecoin got knocked down to 12th place. Look at that. We have Tron in 11th at a $12.2 billion market cap. Dogecoin's at almost 12. It's 11.9. Interesting. All right, let's see where Litecoin's at. Looking like 22nd place for Litecoin. Again, 68 bucks. Litecoin missed the memo that everything else was pumping, and it's really not been doing anything. Kaspa, again, 0.1739, so almost 17 and a half cents. It did hit an all-time high. Let's see, what was it at? When did it hit? 18. Oh my god, it almost hit 19 cents. What a Hadouken there. Look at that. That's crazy. I didn't know it got to 19 cents almost. Jeez. Hell yeah. Shout out to the Kaspa team. You know what, there was actually an article, I totally forgot to put the link in the description, but there was an article saying that there's a oh man, where was it? I forget where it was. I don't know. It was a dental office somewhere accepting Kaspa now. Isn't that weird? Kaspa is being accepted in dental offices now, or a dental office, which is kind of cool. I forget where it was. If anybody knows, please let me know in the chat. I want to say Tennessee, but I don't know actually where it is. Yeah, it's like some dental office. I think I put the link in the VIP chat. Discord. I've just been absent. I've had so much things to do the last couple days. I actually finished up my taxes yesterday for all my crypto stuff, which was, you know, a big burden off my shoulders. So that's yeah, I don't know, I've just been kind of all over the place last couple days, so I apologize. We have Ethereum Classic in 30th place. Let's see, scroll up. I can't believe, actually, hold on, Kaspa was in 27th. It was in 25th place. It's almost at a $4 billion market cap. That's crazy high. Actually, you know what, let's look at real quick, let's look at Alethium, because Alethium's been killing it. Alethium's been absolutely killing it. $3.30. What was the all-time high yesterday, or about 5 hours ago? It says $3.56. Damn, that's crazy. But you know what's even crazier? I was looking at the market cap. Look at his market cap. It's only at 233 million. It's really not even bad. It's not that high. It's really not high. There's gonna be a lot more room for this thing to move. That's just my opinion. That's yeah, I don't know, you guys take that as you will. 50 plus of you lazy, hit that like button, says Miss Pogashage. Appreciate you for being here. Thank you and good morning. Let's see, Kaspa is being accepted for payment in Asia. Is it really, Carl Coat? That's awesome. Hell yeah, good stuff, man, good stuff. All right, let's move on to the mining segment of things. You guys know I like to timestamp this stuff, see where we were a year from now with all these miners. We have the Ivy Link BMKS Max 11 terahash unit making 729 Kaspa per day at $112. Look at that. That's amazing. The Windminer K9, we have 10.3 terahashes making $110 a day. Damn, I love seeing these numbers go up. It's nice. It is nice. The KS3 we have making, this is the Ice River unit, making $84.10. The KS3M 6 terahash unit making $60. Hell yeah. We have the KS2 2 terahash unit making over $20 a day, which is nice. Good to see that coming up again. Let's see, the X16P from jinglemining.com. This is the Jazz Miner, the one that I had a review on. And Mr. Max Voltage, I think, is ending his 14 coins in 14 days soon. Actually, I don't know if he already did, but he's getting close to it. I think he said it was his last coin in one of the shorts I watched the other day. But this is best at mining ETC and ZIL, making $18.85 per day. Where is that? Where's the G1? Here it is. The iPolo G1 looks like that dropped down quite a bit. $11.28 per day. What's Grin looking like, actually? Grin's not one of those coins that I'm into, but that coin, or that miner, has been on the top of the charts for a while. All right, it looks like it's taken a bit of a hit, huh? 9 cents to 6 cents. All right, so about a third of it's lost. Gotcha. That's why we're seeing a decent pullback on the numbers there. All right, let's look at this Ice River KS1 1 terahash unit making $10 a day. That's pretty good, actually. That's really good. That means my KS0 Pros are actually doing better. Mr. Game with Smokey Dan, you watch Max in shorts. Interesting. Yeah, kinda, only different. We have the Bitmain Antminer L7, the 9050. This is the one I got down at Terra Hosting. If you guys are interested, links are in the description. I'm paying 10 cents per kilowatt hour. Again, these are profits after 10 cents. So I'm making $4.69 per day, and I'm still swapping everything into Neoxa. And you know what's more interesting? I've been getting over 20,000 to 25,000 Neoxa per day that I've been cashing out. I've been doing it every morning. And, you know, within reason, it's been like, I don't know, within a couple hours of each other. I'm trying to do it like, you know, in the AM. And yeah, it's always been over 20,000, about 20, 25, depending on when I do it. And I'm more shocked that all my stuff's making about 75 bucks a day. That's what's more shocking to me, with like everything together, all my GPUs, ASICs, all that. But everything's going to Neoxa, just trying to get that master node. I have almost 850,000 as of now, and I do need 1 million Neoxa. Let's see, Mr. Greater Good Mining, dude, Hadouken to you, because you must be killing it with Kaspa. Your portfolio must be amazing. So good on you, buddy. Cheers to that. That's amazing. All right, let's see, Kaspa Ice River KS0 Pro 200 gigahash unit. Again, you guys know I bought a bunch of these because technically, if you put 5 of these together, which would be 500 watts, would be 1 terahashes, right? Instead of the 600 watts for, where is it? Up here. KS1 right here, 600 watts for 1 terahash, right? 100 watts less for 5 of these units. I think it'll be easier to sell those in the bull run, making $2 a day, which is awesome. Hell yeah, I can't believe this thing's making $2 a day. This is great. This is a great morning. Exciting. All right, let's see. The original OG KS0. You know what? I actually still haven't even opened this box. My man Crypto440 soldered a 6-pin onto mine for me, and I have yet to open it. I have to do that. You know, I'm gonna make a video of that in like the next couple hours. Actually, I gotta get that thing opened. I gotta set it up. It's making $1 a day at 65 watts. That's crazy. Hell yeah, appreciate that. All right, anyways, let's get over to GPUs. See what we're looking like GPU mining. We have top of the charts. Looks like Alephium is still taking it, as to be expected, right? We have Pyron as well for the 4070 Ti. What is NIR? NIR, what the hell is that? Nirmata? Did he say that? Progpow? Nirmata? I don't know what this is. Never heard of it. Brand new coin, maybe? Is it? Let me see. Oh, there. It's actually right there. Mining pool stats.stream. New coins. What is it? Is it a new coin? 14th. How old? Right here. 34 days. I was looking at this for whatever reason. 34 days old. Neat. I've never seen that coin. But it is on top of the charts today for some of the AMD cards, the 3090 Ti, the 7900 XT. Interesting. Everything else is Hypera and Carlson. There's some Neoxa on the 170HX CMPs. Nice. It's a scam, says Dan R. Is it? I don't know what it is. I've never seen it. But yeah, Alethium's been killing it, man. To be honest, I've been mining Alethium directly to unMineable to get my Neoxa, and it's been working out fantastic for now. So until I want to get back to stacking a bag of Alethium. So anyways, all right, let's move on to the news segment of things. We have a few things I want to watch today, and I do have to keep this kind of brief, but shout out to my wife actually for sending me this link this morning. She said former Marine crypto lawyer John Dayton to challenge Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren. Let's see. Republican John Deaton, a former U.S. Marine and cryptocurrency attorney, announced Monday that he is challenging Democrat U.S. Senator Elizabeth Warren as she runs for her 3rd term in office. That is amazing. Screw her. She's the worst. She hates crypto. If you guys don't know, this guy's hopefully going to take her out. I'm not going to read this entire article, but there is a lot to it. And if you guys want, feel free, check it out in the description. But yeah, I mean, hopefully this guy kicks her ass in that running. All right, let's get into NVIDIA earnings. So apparently today they're actually going to be putting out the actual earnings of NVIDIA. But they talk about AI and things along those lines here. So I kind of want to get into this and see what this is all about. And real quick, Mr. Crypto KJ, my man, appreciate you for being a member for 9 months. Oh my God. It's the elusive chump change. People called me crazy when I said it was real. Oh, you're awesome. Thanks for being a member, but you're the worst troll ever. Appreciate you, buddy. All right, guys, that like button. Appreciate you all. I hate asking what YouTube makes me. Let's do it.
Joe, the elephant in the room happens tomorrow after the bell. NVIDIA reports. Does everything come down to what this company reports at this point?
I think in the near term, yes, it does. Unfortunately, I wish it wasn't that way. I wish we could look at the earnings that Stephanie is citing and recognizing that it's a much better environment for corporate profitability than we anticipated. But unfortunately, the last several weeks, we've created this speculative fervor surrounding AI, and it's landed squarely in the semi names. We obviously see what ARM Holdings has done the last several weeks. We are seeing what Supermicro is doing as well, and it's extended into NVIDIA to a certain degree.
Down 6%,
yeah,
right? It's maybe people getting a little bit skittish.
It's unavoidable.
Ahead of the number. You look at what. It's sort of like, what else can they? I think Kramer, this morning during the 9 o'clock hour, which we did together, was like, what else? What else can Jensen Huang do?
Well, we've created nearly impossible expectations for NVIDIA, and at a certain point, the comps are going to get more difficult as you move through 2024, and that's the reason why I've said, look, if you're not in NVIDIA, you have to have a wait-and-see approach. Even if the stock gets away from you and goes higher, I think it'll go higher in a parabolic sense, you'll get an opportunity at some point in the future when those comps begin to get more difficult.
All right, so you're bleeding about...
Real quick, Mr. Rudd puts in the chat, thank you for being a member for 25 months. You're awesome, dude. Real quick, I want to know, do you guys invest into NVIDIA stocks? Put it in the chat. And also, Are you into any AI coins? If you are, please put those in the chat as well, because I'm interested to know what is your best, I don't know, your best picks, I guess, right? I kind of want to get a consensus of the whole chat. So let me know if you guys are into any AI coins.
44 bucks, Sarat. Josh, I'll get to Josh in a minute. I'm sort of saving it up on purpose. But Sarat, you own this name too.
I do.
And what do you think is truly riding on this report tomorrow?
So I think a couple of things. I mean,
Again, it's actually today. This was yesterday afternoonish.
Expectations, to Joe's point, are huge, right? It's 20 billion is what is the estimate. 22 is the whisper. It's probably closer to 23, if not north. But I think what's really riding on it is, what are they going to talk about the total addressable market? What other markets are they looking at, and what are they going to talk about double ordering? Because that is the key that all investors, including ourselves, are fearful of. Now, stock's been parabolic. We've taken profits along the way. It's a 2% holding for us. S&P's 4%, but I'd be careful here. And to Joe's point, if it pulls back, it could be a chance for new money to get in. But if it goes up, then you just kind of wait and see.
I mean, I realize there are other things going on today, and we'll get to those and the impacts that they're having on the market. But to me, it's unavoidable to start here as you start a new week, Josh, because even you suggest it's, quote, the whole ball game for the most crowded trade on Earth. And that is what NVIDIA is going to deliver tomorrow, whatever it may be. And the impact that it's going to have on the market, you've got to believe it's going to be a sizable mover one direction or the other.
I think so, but a negative outcome for NVIDIA is not necessarily a negative outcome for investors in the rest of the market, because I think there's a lot of market cap in these top 7, or these days top 6 stocks that could eventually find a home elsewhere if they're disappointed, because the gains that we've been seeing just can't continue. So I agree with a lot of what Stephanie had to say. The old timers will remember this phrase. I don't think they use it anymore. Tape reading is dead. But in the old days, you would ask somebody, you'd ask a guy on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange or a trader on a desk, you know, what's happening in the market, or what's the tone of the market, or what's going on with the tape. And they would say S's over N's. And what that means is the S&P names are outperforming the NASDAQ names. And then sometimes it would be vice versa. It would be N's over S's. I think we're going to be in an S's over N's environment going into spring. And I wouldn't be surprised if the earnings report that we get this week from NVIDIA is a fantastic report, but the reaction disappoints. And I want to do a little bit of myth busting with the time that I have here, Scott, so just bear with me. A lot of people think that NVIDIA represents some sort of like mega bubble or some sort of speculative mania. It's really important that we understand they're going to report $10.5 billion in net income if the estimates are right. They did $1.4 billion in net income this quarter last year. It's a 10x in profits. So when you understand that context, even revenue, we're looking for $4.59 on $20.5 billion in revenue. That's a 240% jump in revenue from just last year, this quarter. So that's the
crazy
context in which we're talking about this stock. It's one of the biggest winners of all time. You might live the rest of your life as an investor and not see anything like it ever again. And be prepared for this company, to Joe's point, getting to a point where nobody could be impressed anymore. And that's a very real possibility.
Well,
so I've trimmed the stock.
Isn't that potentially a problem given the incredible rise that it's had?
How bad do you guys think this is going to affect GPU prices? Do you think they're going to go absolutely astronomical with this whole AI push and everything else?
You know, over the last year, I mean, you could pick time frames and say, oh my God, this is incredible. Oh my God, that's incredible. But I just wonder what that means to the greater story. If they fail to impress to a degree that the stock move would, potentially warrant, what happens?
So you'd have to define problem, because there are people sitting in this stock with thousands of percentage points in returns. They could afford to give up some. That's number one. Number two, I think the more interesting risk here is that all of these top market cap stocks are so related to each other. Let me give you NVIDIA, for example. People think that every time this company reports earnings, it's like some massive reaction in the stock. The reality is this stock moves in advance of those numbers. After the November report, the stock fell 2% the next day. After the August report, the stock rallied 3% the next day. Last May, it had an explosive move, but it's not always a big post-earnings mover. And the reason why is because the market moves the stock in advance. What happened this year is that Alphabet, Amazon, Meta, Microsoft, all they did was talk AI, and that rallied NVIDIA in advance of this number.
Yeah,
so
well,
that's what I think is the risk here.
The other part of the risk, as Evercore, Steph, says, it's the stock that is the market, speaking of NVIDIA. I'm curious as to whether the whole AI trade, in some respects, is on the line this week. If you consider the moves in some of these names since November 1st, whether it's ARM or AMD or Palantir or ASML or Snowflake. Now, I didn't go down the rest of the names on my list. I stopped at the ones that are only up 50% or better since November the 1st. But you could go down that list and find some that are 40s and almost 30s and well into the double digits as well. I'm wondering what those stocks are going to do.
Oh, they're all going to trade together, but some have more juice than others, right? So I own IBM, for example. Fully expect it to be down if NVIDIA is down, but it'll be down a lot less. A, it's not as owned. It's also misunderstood, and I think the valuation, there is support there. Snowflake.
You're new into Snowflake?
I think I'm going to kill this. So they're talking about some random ass stocks. But anyways, we're not a huge stock channel, right? But overall, AI is going to be huge, and they have been killing it for NVIDIA. I mean, that whole catalyst just around AI in general. I do want to listen to, I believe this is Tom Lee over here speaking on NVIDIA earnings. Will expose how much firepower is left in the market. Yeah, this is Fun Strats Tom Lee. All right, hit that like button, guys. Appreciate you for hanging out. I hate asking what YouTube makes me. Let's do it.
So let's dive into all this and bring back in our friend, Funstrat, managing partner.
Yeah, I don't know what the Snowflake thing was about. I'm not into stocks like that. But, oh, actually, shout out to Dan R. He said, I got NVIDIA because of crypto. When I found out they were used for GPU mining, I just bought 5 shares at the time, $91 in 2020. And that's crazy. That's a good return, man. You got what, 6x, 7x almost? That's crazy.
And head of research, Tom Lee. Are we wrong to say that NVIDIA matters to the overall market?
NVIDIA is hugely important. A lot of eyes are on tomorrow, as you said, and it's going to be very telling us about how much firepower still exists in the market. If NVIDIA has a great report and rallies, I think it's going to confirm we're not really at the top of the first half 2024 market top. But there's an equal chance that NVIDIA has a great number and the stock sells off. And I think that's going to tell us perhaps a lot of the buying power is used up. So I think it's very important.
Yeah, here's the thing.
If you guys don't know, he's usually on point with stocks and stuff. And Andrew Masad said that hair. To be honest, I didn't know his hair was that crazy. I didn't even notice it.
NVIDIA, I'll give my take, and you say, no, Sullivan, you're wrong as usual, which is NVIDIA will probably beat street estimates on EPS and sales. Okay, they do every quarter. It's a measure, I suspect, of obviously the guidance matters a ton, but how much they beat by. This could be a time, Tom, where we see a company blow away estimates and it still not be good enough.
Yes. Anecdotally, I'm finding a lot of our clients thinking the company is going to beat and sell off, which tells me
exactly what I just said.
Yes. And that's why I actually think the bigger surprise would be NVIDIA rallies tomorrow, and it shows there's still legs left in the rally of the first half. But that's just an anecdote.
How much matters in the guidance versus the actual quarterly numbers last quarter?
All of it's going to matter. And as you know, because a lot of things have been priced into it, people are going to look for little wrinkles and, blemishes. So a lot is priced in. But, I think if there is a sell-off, I actually think it's going to be buyable for the most part.
And you've been bullish. You've been right. You've been out there with there's like a couple of you guys that were on your own island for most of 2023. It's a very lonely place, by the way.
Yeah.
But you survived, like Tom Hanks. You had a volleyball as a friend, and you've prospered. You still remain bullish for the year.
Yes.
What are they talking about?
NVIDIA
Volleyball as a friend. What, talking about Castaway, the movie? That's hysterical.
the biggest risk to the market? Is the Fed the biggest risk to the market? Is the election the biggest risk to the market? We have to factor in the macro stuff. What do you think most about?
I think the Fed's the biggest risk because the market needs to broaden, and it's going to broaden when interest rate cuts start to get priced and investors begin to think about that roadmap. And if inflationary pressures don't...
Whoa, what the hell does this mean? What's this mean? Anybody that's into stocks, what's miss mean? What? I don't know what that means. Oh, does that mean they beat their projected like earnings? Is that what that means? Let me know.
And the Fed starts to sort of second guess that
earnings. Okay, all right, that's what I thought. Gotcha.
Is there a not zero chance?
I've never seen it like that before.
Chance we get a rate hike this year? People are now starting to talk about that again.
That's one thing I need to start getting into this year, doing some sort of stock stuff. Just because I'm mainly just in crypto, except for like my like IRA stuff. That's just like the financial guy does it for you, right? I don't do individual stocks typically, but I should start getting into it.
Or is that a 0% chance in your mind?
I mean, I think that the probability's low in actuality, but the market could get concerned about it. And if it does, that would put pressure on stocks. And
January is 1 month doth not a trend make, as you know more than anybody. January's numbers were hot. We saw in the early 80s, late 70s, inflation can look like it's whipped and then it comes back up, right? We saw that again. It can be sticky, as they say. If we get more hot inflation data for February, does that hit stocks? Because now the Fed is suddenly back in play again.
I mean, I'd say it's really bad if inflation's hot in February, because how would you convince the bond market and the Fed that inflation's falling? But that would not be our central view. I think there was a lot of one-offs and even bad seasonality that makes January CPI look hot. I think February CPI could be quite soft, but it's too early still.
Where's the best place to make money in the stock market right now?
Well, I think if someone is saying, where's the best risk reward, I like small caps because their valuations are attractive. Price to book is still 44% of the S&P. That's still the launch point where they were in 99. They're big beneficiaries when the Fed starts cutting. Expectations are low, and actually delivered earnings haven't been bad. So I think it's good risk reward, but tomorrow...
We've been there before. The valuations you cite have been there, and people have ignored it. And I do wonder, and I'm going to tick off half the audience or more right now.
Yeah, exactly. He's talking about Kaspa Broskies.
If the Mag 7 sells off...
Could you imagine?
The S&P's probably in trouble because they're so huge, right? But that means people are raising cash. They're selling, they're taking profits, they're raising cash. Could a Mag 7 sell-off be the best thing for the small caps?
In a way, because you're right. Russell 2000's 8% of the S&P, so it wouldn't take a lot of reallocation into small caps to make a big move. There's still $6 trillion of cash on the sidelines, and margin debt is way below where it was in 2021. So I still think there's a lot of firepower in this.
Yeah, I think.
Shout out to Tom Lee. He's amazing. All right, let's move on. Now we're going to talk about, could XRP get an ETF before Ethereum, around the time of Ethereum, or will it get one at all? Let's find out what he has to say over here. Ripple CEO says crypto regulation needs to be clearer. I mean, as we all know, but let's get into it, guys.
It's worth kind of going back to your case with the SEC first, because you are far along. And as we sit here today on February 20th, how would you describe how the dispute has changed?
Well, look, I think for whatever reason, the SEC decided to make Ripple their first major case around this. And look, the reality, prior to the case, we had been advocating for more clarity around the rules and regulations. And the good news has been other countries around the world have leaned into that and codified what should the rules and regulations, what's unique about crypto that needs to be changed. The SEC, frankly, has just hired more litigation that, what we call regulation through enforcement, and really just started suing lots of people. And what's unfortunate is they have lost consistently. They lost the Ripple case on everything they cared about. I mean, even the soundbite you just had up, your Chair Gensler is saying that a lot of these are securities. What the courts have said in the cases they have brought, and certainly the case with Ripple and the token XRP, the court determined that XRP is not in and of itself a security.
When do you think that this will finally no longer be an overhang for you guys? You're one of many companies that are fighting the SEC at this point in time, but when can you call this an all clear? And do you think that this will make it so far as to reach higher courts?
Well, hard to predict whether it's going to reach higher courts. On everything we cared about, we won against the SEC. Will the SEC appeal and move it up the courts? We'll see. They sought approval to do what's called an interlocutory appeal. The courts denied that also. The case against me personally and Chris Larson personally was dismissed entirely with prejudice. So, look, from my point of view, the SEC has lost consistently. They lost the Grayscale case. I think if you're following the Coinbase case, the tone from the judge is, I think, pretty skeptical about some of the SEC's arguments.
The judge is probably getting sick of it. Like at some point, it's like, all right, give it a fucking rest because you guys aren't winning any of these arguments.
Stops, I think, when the SEC either realizes they're losing consistently, or you have Congress lean in and write new legislation. That's probably going to be hard in an election year. Maybe we'll see legislation around stablecoins this year, but I'm hopeful and we'll continue to advocate in Washington.
Well, you mentioned the Grayscale case, Brad, and it's Kaylee in Washington. Obviously, that was pretty instrumental in ultimately the SEC granting approval to not just Grayscale's conversion to a spot ETF, GBTC that is, but spot Bitcoin ETFs more broadly. I'm sure you've seen there's buzz out there about potentially an XRP ETF being in the future. What do you make of that speculation?
Well, Kaylee, good to see you. I think it only makes sense there will be other ETFs. It's a little like, the earliest days of the stock market. You don't really want exposure to one stock or one company. You want to typically think about diversifying risk and what have you. And so I think we will see other ETFs. When we will see them is hard to predict. The sad reality of what we saw with the Bitcoin ETF is it was only because the courts forced the SEC's hand, and really Chair Gensler's hand, that we saw that finally come to fruition. And look, in my opinion, it makes these markets safer. It makes them more robust. And so this is good for the investment community to kind of lean into that.
So you would welcome an XRP ETF then?
We would certainly welcome it, and I think it's inevitable that there'll be, multiple ETFs around different tokens. And I think you'll even see ETFs potentially around baskets that also, I think, further diversify that risk.
Given there's so much excitement around the ETF dynamic here, are you in talks with the largest issuers, particularly Blackrock, to get this done?
Well, I'm not going to comment on that. I know BlackRock has said some things publicly. We think it makes sense for the XRP community overall. Ripple obviously is a very important stakeholder in the XRP ecosystem, but we're not the only player. And look, we've seen, before the SEC lawsuit, XRP was the second most valuable digital asset. I think because of the headwinds of that lawsuit, we've now seen that largely abate. But
wait, was it really the second most largest digital asset before the lawsuit stuff? Is that true?
The long-term view on these things is about,
I think that was like when I was getting into crypto or before I got into crypto. So let me know if that's the truth.
How do you create utility and really solve real-world problems with these different digital assets? Bitcoin's doing that very well as a store of value. XRP and its dynamics around being very fast, very efficient, and low cost on a per transaction basis makes it ideal for payments. And that's where Ripple really has leaned into as a company.
Well, let's talk about where else Ripple is leaning in. You've recently acquired Standard Custody. What is that going to do for your company?
Well, look, we think there's some basic building blocks around crypto that are important to make crypto successful. Custody is an important part of that. For institutions to be able to custody both their own as well as their customers' digital assets, we think is very important. We've made 2 acquisitions over the last year in this space. One was a company in Switzerland, and then more recently, the Standard Custody. Standard Custody in particular has a trust license here in New York, which also makes it very valuable. Everything we have done at Ripple is compliant first. And I think this year, 2024, with FTX behind us, with some of the Binance dynamics largely behind us, I think has to be a compliant first mindset for all of the crypto industry.
How far can your
Broskies real quick said he must be mistaken XRP with another crypto. Real quick. Also, Andrew Masad said XRP centralized, so the big banks love it. Yeah, I agree.
foray into custody really go? You think about what's happening with Coinbase and its role in custody when it comes to these ETFs. How do you envision your role in custody expanding over time?
Well, look, it's a pretty fragmented market today. Coinbase is a player. You have I don't know, 5 or 10 players that have small pieces of market share. We already have signed up with Ripple's custody solution, HSBC. We have BBVA, a leading partner of ours called Zodia. So, we feel very good about the momentum we have to kind of the larger banking infrastructure. But we also intend to compete at a more regional financial institutions, as well as with some corporates who are starting to look at custodying their own crypto also.
Brad, as we have this conversation with you, Nikki Haley, the Republican presidential candidate, is giving a state of the race speech in South Carolina with that primary just days away. She says she's not going anywhere. She has no plans to quit the race. But just a few weeks ago on this show, Tim Draper, of course, a pretty prominent Bitcoin investor, was talking about what kind of president she could be, what she could do for innovation like digital assets. And I just wonder, as Ripple is looking ahead to 2024, how consequential do you think ultimately who's in the White House, what the composition of Congress could look like as well down the ballot will be in deciding the future of digital assets? Is there anyone you would support?
Well, look, at the most macro level, I think it's incredibly important that the U.S. regain a leadership position around crypto regulation. We are a laggard. We are behind other major countries like the UK. I mean, the European Union as a 27-country membership is ahead of us. They've gotten 27 countries to agree to things that we as one country can't get our arms around. So I think it's very important. Over 20% of the U.S. population already has direct or indirect exposure to crypto, and so it only makes sense that it's an issue. As you probably know, Ripple, Andreessen Horowitz, and Coinbase put together a super PAC, and we've each put $25 million behind it to support candidates that are pro-crypto and pro-constructive regulation and engagement, really being pro-innovation but protecting consumers at the same time. I think that for a lot of politicians, crypto has become a soundbite where they don't really understand how crypto works, and they say things that actually don't even back up with facts. So, I do think it's a campaign issue. Ripple has leaned into that. I personally, my donations are bipartisan, but certainly pro-crypto, and that'll continue to be the case. I'll even highlight just today, John Deaton, a very prominent pro-crypto guy, announced he's running against Elizabeth Warren.
Oh shit, that's the article I just showed you guys that my wife showed me this morning. That's a riot.
So I think you're going to continue to see that. Correct.
So
real quick, this is the article. I'll put this in the live chat if anybody's interested in reading it. This guy right here, Mr. John Deaton, is actually running against Elizabeth Warren, which is amazing. Pretty awesome. All right, let's continue. Sorry.
With that said, also we know that Elizabeth Warren is trying to make the crypto industry's regulation around AML laws and KYC laws more akin to that of banking. Is this something a lot of the crypto industry has been very upset about? Is this something you're actively fighting?
Eat shit,
no.
Gary.
On the contrary, I mean, I would actually argue that Elizabeth Warren has it wrong. I mean, if you sign up on Coinbase, you have to get KYC, know your customer. You have to go through a verification process of providing your licenses, and they do that verification. And as I said before, the vast majority of people who are in the crypto industry are good actors who want to play by the rules. We need to know what those rules are sometimes. But the KYC and AML are not rules that are confusing, and I find that the vast majority of the industry players are already leaning into that. I think Elizabeth Warren wants us to believe that those are things that somehow crypto is circumventing, but that's not the real world.
She's a moron. She is an absolute moron when it comes to crypto. Anyways, all right. CNBC television crypto world. We have Ether briefly crosses $3,000 for the first time since April 2022. Let's see what they got to say over here, guys. That like button. Appreciate you for hanging out. 142 people here, 64 likes. Come on, give it a Hadouken. Appreciate you. Let's do it.
Today, Ether crosses above $3,000 for the first time in nearly 2 years. And Sandy Call of Franklin Templeton discusses the asset manager's decision to enter the competitive Bitcoin ETF space with its EZBC product. Welcome to CNBC's Crypto World. I'm Jordan Smith. Cryptocurrencies are in the red as we come off the holiday weekend, with Bitcoin trading at about $51,400. That's well off the weekend lows of about $50,700 from Saturday. Ether, meanwhile, trading flat at $28.96 this morning, but actually crossed above $3,000 earlier in the day, and that's its first time above the $3,000 mark since April of 2022. Then there's Solana, which sank nearly 6% this morning to 106. Now turning our attention over to Wall Street, Coinbase is moving lower this morning after that post-earnings rally last week. Same with Robinhood, which is lower by about 1% at midday. Marathon Digital falling nearly 12% this morning amid that drawdown in crypto markets. That pressure on Bitcoin is of course also hitting the spot Bitcoin ETFs this morning, but they continue to see strong inflows. CoinShares found that nearly $2.5 billion flowed into digital asset investment products last week.
Perfect.
All right, let's jump right into our main story. On Friday, I spoke with Sandy Call, the global head of digital assets and investment advisory services for Franklin Templeton. I asked her about the performance of the asset manager's EZBC Spot Bitcoin ETF and whether we should expect to see more crypto ETF products on U.S. exchanges.
Look at that. Look at the background. We gave him a couple days to get situated. The background actually looks nice.
After the company filed for a Spot Ether ETF.
So Franklin Templeton, among nearly a dozen asset managers bringing Bitcoin ETFs to market last month. Talk to me about how it's going so far, how you feel about EZBC, your ETF, and its ability to closely track the price of Bitcoin so far.
Great. Well, thank you for having us. We have been very excited at Franklin Templeton about the success of our EZBC product, primarily because this is a brand new type of investment that is really bringing together the crypto world with the traditional financial world. And it has some nuances that have never really been attempted before in an ETF wrapper that we had faith would work, but it's always nice to see a month in that it is working as expected. We've been super pleased with the mechanics of how the ETF is tracking the underlying index and price of Bitcoin. We've been very pleased with how we are seeing steady growth in our product. And we are anticipating, really seeing these offerings move into the advisor channel where we will be doing most of our asset building over the coming months. So we're in the midst of working with advisors to really help them understand the investment thesis, the product, and how it fits into their portfolio.
Yeah, I want to talk about that thesis in just a moment, but sticking with the competition side of this for just a moment, can you elaborate on why Franklin Templeton thought that this was the right moment to bring a spot Bitcoin product to market right now, especially with so many people also trying the same thing? What about this environment right now made it seem like the right time?
So I think
you guys are terrible. Somebody said this lady has at least 5 cats. And then somebody else said at least 5 cats minimum. How many cats do you think this lady has? Put it in the chat.
There's 3 things that have really kind of brought us to this moment in time, right? I think the first is that when people began to get very excited about artificial intelligence last year, it really also opened up the dialogue around the other major, I think, technology innovation that is working to reshape how commerce operates, which is blockchain and the associated blockchain ecosystems, where even having gone through crypto winter, we continue to see steady growth in the adoption and the expansion and the build out of these ecosystems and continued innovation, which is really creating all new models for the industry. So there has been this entire domain of innovation that has been progressing for a decade now, where most investors are unaware of the extent of innovation that's taking place, and they have been unable to access it through channels that they would feel comfortable with, particularly when they work with an advisor. So we think that the investment opportunity itself is becoming better understood, and there is starting to be increased evidence that you really are going to need potentially this blockchain ecosystem to realize the full benefit of AI. So those 2 innovations are really starting to come together. The second reason that we thought this was the ideal timing is that there are some fundamentals underlying the Bitcoin market itself that are coming into play over the coming months. This has to do with the halving cycle and the idea that as Bitcoin transactions reach certain thresholds, we see the reward being paid to miners cut. That period is coming up. In the past, this has led to price increases. You never know. Past performance is never a guarantee of the future, but there is hope and expectation that there might be some impact on the pricing because you are going to see the supply potentially decrease, the pace of supply creation. And then I think the third reason that people have become very interested in this is that we are going through an increased period of geopolitical uncertainty. And there has started to be in many nations that are experiencing economic impacts from that uncertainty, increased interest in using Bitcoin and using cryptocurrencies to help protect their wealth, to help create a better way to move payments and remittances cross-border, and to help manage some of the high inflation in some countries, and just as hopefully a store of value in case of uncertainty. So I think those three factors came together that really made this great timing. And we have been engaged in the space for quite some time, but we thought the ETF would be a nice addition to our product offerings that could open this up, this opportunity up to more folks.
I'm kind of impressed with her knowledge in the space, actually.
Led me perfectly into investment strategy. I mean, where does this ETF fit into a diversified portfolio, especially in this period, as you mentioned, where people are worried about lingering inflation, rates remaining higher for longer, and some of the geopolitical risks that have been going on for a couple of years now? Where does this ETF fit in that strategy?
Yeah, I mean, one of the reasons we've been really fixated on building out our capabilities in this whole crypto domain has been because we believe that there needs to be greater diversification in investor portfolios, right? We have seen, particularly for individual investors, most of that portfolio exposure limited to just stocks or bonds. We have not seen them benefit from the same benefits that institutional and very high net worth investors have been able to benefit from in terms of diversification into alternatives. And many of the alternative products that are being reconstituted and aimed at the wealth channel are still semi-illiquid or a little bit more difficult to understand, whereas we think this Bitcoin ETF creates an alternative exposure that people can put into the portfolio that is highly liquid, that will allow them to really begin to take some of that high concentration of vulnerability to just equity market prices and equity risk out of their portfolio. So we think that there is some true diversification benefit and this ability to get into a new asset class by being able to move into these investments.
You guys have filed for a spot Ether ETF, and I won't ask you to comment on that specific filing while it's in process, but more broadly, do you expect that Wall Street has a bigger appetite for crypto products beyond just Bitcoin? And do you see maybe not just Ether, but crypto as a whole becoming more of a strategy for Wall Street players?
Oh, for sure.
100%. I think that as the investment thesis becomes better understood and people realize that these are not speculative interests, these are actually representations of value of a network, the appetite to own that network and to own the different networks that are emerging and the infrastructure that they are providing for really running the next phase of the economy, that appetite will grow. And I think that as that understanding and appetite grows, you will see the product suite grow and the access options grow as well.
Mr. Joker Miner in the chat, appreciate the 1999 super chat. He said, Chump Change is back again. Tell a friend. Appreciate you, buddy. Thank you for keeping the stream alive. All right, that is it for CNBC Crypto World. Let's move on to altcoin dailies. Bitcoin is going to $69,000 before the 2024 halving. BlackRock's next ETF, Ethereum or XRP? I wonder. I think it's going to be Ethereum, but I don't know if XRP will actually get one. What do you guys think? Let me know in the chat. Let's do it.
November 2021, Bitcoin record high 69,000. When does Bitcoin hit 69,000? Again.
Bitcoin's price continues to climb higher, consolidating near local highs.
Short-term price is almost impossible to predict. My guess is that we will see somewhere around there before the end of this year.
This year, okay.
Something like that.
And then when does it go to 100?
And with the halving near 60 days away, and the ETFs continuing to suck up all the supply.
I think that the halving is really this meaningful moment. And what we've seen historically is there's been 3 prior times where the halving occurs, and within 18 months we have a new all-time high. Historically, though, when we've hit that halving, we haven't been at a new all-time high price yet. What we've been watching right now is these ETF flows are driving the price higher. We're now at $52,000. We were at $42,000 when the ETFs actually got approved. And so if this continues, there's a chance we could be near an all-time high. I don't know if we'll be at the all-time high, but we could be closer to an all-time high when the halving occurs, and that would be unprecedented.
And with Ethereum approaching 3K, still 38% down.
Joker Miner, oops, I had 50 picked. Damn it, driving to work. Dude, you don't have to do that. Thank you so much for the additional $19.99 super chat. You're awesome. Appreciate you, buddy.
From its all-time high, while Gary Gensler was forced to approve a Bitcoin ETF.
Do you think he'll do the same thing and approve a spot Ether ETF?
I don't see that happening at the next time that he can do it, which is in Q2 of this year. I think eventually they're going to have to approve not only Bitcoin, not only Ether, but many of these. And it's just going to become, if you go back to the 90s, people used to talk about internet companies. Now we talk about companies. Same thing I think is going to happen here. People are just going to talk about these assets, and it's not going to be, oh, crypto, this weird thing in the corner. It's just going to be this mainstream thing, and so they'll all get ETFs.
But play this out for me.
Crypto, this weird thing in the corner that's hysterical. I love Anthony Pomp, man. His enthusiasm around Bitcoin as a whole is just, it's awesome.
Many people are starting to get their heads around Bitcoin. We can understand Bitcoin, maybe Ether a little bit, but Solana, Dogecoin. I mean, how many ETFs could there potentially be? I mean,
could you imagine a Dogecoin ETF? That would be a little absurd, as it's a meme coin, right? That's just strange to even ask that. And honestly, I couldn't even find this article. I was looking on Fox Business. I didn't see this this news clip. So let me know if you guys found it.
if you do for one, do you have to do for all? Or if you do for two, let's say he gives a thumbs up to Ether, what about all the others?
Well, I think there's 5,535 ETF launches before the Bitcoin ETFs occurred, if I remember that number correctly. And so there can be thousands of ETFs out there.
Wow.
And when you see even just like SPY, right? There's SPY, there's levered SPY, there's the inverse SPY. There's all these things that you can do to actually get ETFs around a single asset. And so I think that's coming both for Bitcoin, but I think a lot of these assets are going to have ETFs in the future.
And let's talk about Injective. Let's talk about ETH L2s and what's next for XRP.
So you would welcome an XRP ETF then?
The CEO of Ripple shares the latest today.
When do you think that this will finally no longer be an overhang for you guys? You're one of many companies that are fighting the SEC at this point in time, but when can you call this an all clear? And do you think that this will make it so far as to reach higher courts?
Well, hard to predict whether it's going to reach higher courts. On everything we cared about, we won against the SEC. Will the SEC appeal and move it up the courts? We'll see. They sought approval to do what's called an interlocutory appeal. The courts denied that also. The case against me personally and Chris Larson personally was dismissed entirely with prejudice. So, look, from my point of view, the SEC has lost consistently. They lost the Grayscale case. I think if you're following the Coinbase case, the tone from the judge is, I think, pretty skeptical about some of the SEC's arguments. It stops, I think, when the SEC either realizes they're losing consistently, or you have Congress lean in and write new legislation.
And big news for lower cap altcoins, but if not, an Ethereum ETF potentially next.
I'm sure you've seen there's buzz out there about potentially an XRP ETF being in the future. What do you make of that speculation?
I think it only makes sense there will be other ETFs. It's a little like, the earliest days of the stock market. You don't really want exposure to one stock or one company. You want to typically think about diversifying risk and what have you. And so I think we will see other ETFs. When we will see them is hard to predict. The sad reality of what we saw with the Bitcoin ETF is it was only because the courts forced the SEC's hand, and really Chair Gensler's hand, that we saw that finally come to fruition. And look, in my opinion, it makes these markets safer. It makes them more robust.
So you would welcome an XRP ETF then?
We would certainly welcome it, and I think it's inevitable that there'll be, multiple ETFs around different.
And
there'll probably be like a top 10 ETF, if I had to guess, like top 10 cryptos, like as a whole.
Been in talks with Blackrock.
Probably before, probably around, there'll be the Ethereum one, and then probably a top 10 would be the next one. That would be my guess, but I don't know. Maybe Solana. I don't know, though.
There's so much excitement around the ETF dynamic here. Are you in talks with the largest issuers, particularly BlackRock, to get this done?
Well, I'm not going to comment on that. I know BlackRock has said some things publicly. We think it makes sense for the XRP community overall. Ripple obviously is a very important stakeholder in the XRP ecosystem, but we're not the only player. And look, we've seen, before the SEC lawsuit, XRP was the second most valuable digital asset. I think because of the headwinds of that lawsuit, we've now seen that largely abate. But the long-term view on these things, is about, how do you create utility and really solve real world problems with these different digital assets? Bitcoin's doing that very well as a store of value. XRP and its dynamics around being very fast, very efficient, and low cost on a per transaction basis makes it ideal for payments. And that's where Ripple really has leaned into as a company.
And in
Kaspa. Real cheap. Real cheap. Bring on the Kaspa ETF, damn. Says Crypto KJ. Yes, that would be amazing, but I doubt it.
Objective and Solana collab. The first ever omni-chain domain name service has officially launched, enhancing the user experience across Solana and Injective. And how this affects you is you can use and build dApps across both Solana and Injective using the same domain, unifying the two ecosystems. So
you know what? I wonder if they would do an LTC ETF. Because LTC is kind of like an OG, but it's weird that it's ranked so high, right? Like the market cap's not close to the others or close to Bitcoin, right? It's in like what, 22nd place or something out of top 100 coins. So I don't know. It's just, it's been around forever. It's been used as payments all over the place, but like, I don't know. That would be that's really interesting. Actually, I never really thought about LTC. Everybody forgets about it, for real. Seriously. Wow. When's the halving? Andrew Masad said everyone forgets LTC has a halving. When is that?
Users can utilize Injective in order to attain .sol domains and .sol domains onto Injective as well. Solana's most popular wallet is also integrated into both, and building a cross-chain name service is an unprecedented innovation in the blockchain space. Also, big news for ETH Layer 2 Cody Network delivering garbled circuitry first mentioned by Vitalik back on...
Real quick, sorry, I had to pause it. All right, oh boy. That was weird. I thought my computer just froze. All right, look, so the halving that we already had was last year, right? So we're having, the next halving is in May, or 16th of May, projected 2027, so 3 years, almost 4 years away. So, yeah, that's it. According to NiceHash, they're always wrong, but close enough.
Hacker Moon. So big technical achievement, and just as a reminder, Cody is a privacy-centric Ethereum L2, and as they describe themselves, it's a new technology that's 10 times faster and lighter than ZK solutions. And the news today is this: garbled circuits on the blockchain for the very first time.
I'm going to perform some quick demo of our MPC protocol that is based on garbling.
So they've achieved a breakthrough in blockchain encryption, and according to them, our breakthrough results in 1,000x faster computation, 100x lower latency compared to current solutions, and 250 times smaller storage.
Vitalik Buterin spoke about garbling circuits. That's such a weird name.
Requirements and FHE. They've actually just published a pretty technical demo.
Weird.
Now I just want to
as if he wasn't weird enough already.
This is the first time that an MPC is actually...
But like always, I'll continue to keep you updated, and I'll link that full demo down below if you want to check out.
Crypto KJ, I knew that was going to come out of your mouth. I once knew a girl who garbled.
Also, famous DJ Steve Aoki comments on the NFT market.
Do you still have a lot of NFTs? I think you issued some NFTs, but the market is just like, it's kind of been obliterated.
Yeah, it's obliterated. There are like a small core of us that still believe that it's going to be part of the future. The NFTs and blockchain, first of all, it's a blockchain technology. I think it's something that is going to be underlying in the future. It's something you can't really, it's a great transaction service,
And it's a great way to scam people also, NFTs.
A place where you can find a decentralized way to do transactions, and it's secured on the blockchain. I do believe in that. I'm a believer of that.
And in a brand new Michael Saylor interview, a continuation from our video released yesterday, Michael Saylor confirms he's never selling, he's only buying, and Bitcoin is the exit strategy.
So let's talk about your existing holdings. As I mentioned in the intro, now worth around $10 billion. You have paper gains of about 70% or so, which a lot of people would like to see that sort of return. At any point, would you sell? When would it make sense to take profits there?
Well, I've famously said I'm going to be buying the top forever. Bitcoin is the exit strategy. It is the strongest asset. So what we see right now is the Bitcoin has just emerged as a $1 trillion asset class. And it's alongside names like Apple and Google and Microsoft. But the difference between Bitcoin and the Magnificent Seven is Bitcoin's an asset class. It's not a company. There's not enough room in the capital structure of those companies to hold $10 trillion or $100 trillion worth of capital. So Bitcoin's competing against gold, which is 10x what it is right now. It's competing against the S&P index. It's competing against real estate, $100 trillion plus asset class, as a store of value. So we believe capital is going to keep flowing from those asset classes into Bitcoin because Bitcoin is technically superior to those asset classes. And that being the case, there's just no reason to sell the winner to buy the losers.
And by the way, if you're looking...
All right, no, we're not looking for that shill. I actually caught that at the end of the video yesterday. Real quick, Dan R in the chat. All right, we're going to recap stuff. Let's go back to the screen here. Sorry, my wife came down and said, "Bye, she's going to work." So I got to get back to daddy duty in a second. But Dan R said, no, he said, meme coins are the main way people scam others with pump and dumps. Yes, you are correct, sir. But so... Let's be real, right? Any type of cryptocurrency you get into it comes down to whatever you're selling it at, there's got to be somebody willing to buy it at that, right? So regardless of what happens, like, somebody wins, somebody loses, right? No matter what you're doing with cryptocurrency. But yeah, no, I agree. I do agree. Meme coins are a good way to get, a shit ton of money or get completely wrecked. But that's, I don't know. Just the whole NFT thing really throws me sideways with that. Anyways, Bitcoin looking like 51,184. We're looking at a $2,900 Ethereum. Again, Solana's at $103. And maybe I need to refresh this because who knows what's happening. No, all looks the same. All right. Things were glitching out for a second, and I didn't mean to click on that. Damn it. What is happening? Trying to get rid of these damn ads. God, Brave browser. Come on. Step up your game. We have BNB at $370, Dogecoin at 8 cents. Everything looks deep in the red today, but again, I think that has to do with more or less the overall market being in extreme greed. 78, right? Again, this chart goes off of everything in the crypto space, news, YouTube, price, everything. So like everything's kind of thrown into this one chart, and it kind of gives you overall market. Anyways, all right, let's look out real quick. Let's check out Dynex. How's Dynex doing? I haven't looked at that in a while. Dynex is up 1.5% today, almost 75 cents. Nice. That's 74. Nice. Let's look at Flux. How's Flux doing? Any other coins you guys want to look at quick before we get out of here? I just want to check and recap a few things. Wow, Flux at 80 cents. What? Damn. Perfect. That's awesome. Good stuff. Flux is at 80 cents. I was not expecting that. How's Alethium doing? We already looked at this. 14.16, or it's up 16% today. Now it says $3.38. Again, this thing hit an all-time high, $3.56 about 6 hours ago. Again, guys, remember to take profits. This is my mistake usually is just holding it and seeing it go down, but at the same time we are at the beginning stages of stuff, and this market cap Alethium is super low, at least in my opinion. 236 million. That's really not much, right? Considering looking at Kaspa, right? Kaspa's been doing great. It's at 17 cents, down 5.7% today, but $3.8 billion market cap, right? So between the 200 million and 3.8 billion, there's a lot more room for Alethium to grow, which is that's just my opinion, right? And especially when those ASICs come to fruition, which they probably will. Yeah, it's gonna happen. What would you consider a bag? Hold on. What would you consider a big bag of Alethium? Is that what you're asking, Mr. Henry? To be honest, I mean, it's really whatever you can afford. It's everybody's situation's different, right? Like, I have a buttload of Kaspa. I'm not gonna say how much, but I have a buttload of Kaspa. When it comes to Alethium, I don't have much. I sold half of it when it was $2.60, just because you got to take profits, buddy. All right, daddy duty's happening right now. Oh, little man came to visit. He's sad. He hates when mom leaves. 2 more likes for 100, please. Hit that 100. Hit that like button for 100, please. Let's see. But yeah, so anyways, again, everybody's situation is different, right? But Alethium, as of right now, you get, I don't know. I mean, what do you guys think? I'll leave it up to you guys. Why don't you guys tell me what you think a big bag of Alethium is in the chat, Or what do you think a decent bag of lithium is in the chat? You see yourself up there? Hold on, he's looking. Look. Is it you? He's like, what is happening? Anyways, 69. There you go. 69. 1K lithium. Yeah, that's probably a decent bag, right? 1K. You got to think, right? So if it goes up, what? You know, even a little bit, right? You have 2 zeros to add to whatever happens, right? So I mean, it's 1,000 seems pretty good. If you can get to 100 or 1,000, that's why not? You know. But I mean, either like I said, everybody's situation is different, right? So it doesn't matter how much you have. Just try to get into something and stick with it, and don't sell for a loss, please. That's like the biggest thing. Dad, sell lithium. I need more toys. Dude, this kid's got so many toys I can't even explain it to you. Anyways, all right, guys, I appreciate you all hanging out with me on the daily grind. I'm sorry I've been gone the last 2 days, but I will be back again tomorrow morning, and we'll be all situated. My daughter's coming down, so I gotta get back to Daddy Duty. You guys have a great day. Please hit that like button. Appreciate you all, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow morning. I'm gonna try to be going earlier, actually, about 7:30 ish if I can. So I'll see you guys then. Peace out. Have a good day.
Eat shit, Gary.